3 rings, 60 men, all human centipede together. I saw that in a movie once. Always remember to delete your search history. I'm John Renton with the Retro Review, WCW World War III 1996. Yes, I'm a couple days late on the 25-year anniversary of this pay-per-view happening, but enjoy the show anyway. Why not? There was some good stuff on this show, but yes, 3 rings, 60 men. Man, if only the scope of this match could match the scope of the Norfolk scope. Okay, so I really had to shoehorn and force feed that pun right in there. There was actually some good stuff on this show, but the catastrophic nature of like trying to shoot and, program and format a 3 ring 60-man battle royal was just insane. They already had difficulty doing that for the Starrcade 1991 Battle Bowl 2 ring battle royal, and they'd even been doing 2 ring battle royals before. Like, that's something that goes back, even into the territory days. But it's just maddening watching all this stuff and realizing just how many people WCW had under contract. Yes, there were plenty of people that worked twice, but they had some people under contract that I think many forgot were even still wrestling in the mid 90s. So anyway, I do want to know what you guys have to say about this show, because it is kind of a cool time capsule, because there was one particular segment that was just here to hype up Starrcade 1996, which I retro-reviewed last year because I reviewed a lot of stuff last year because it was in the time of the pandemic. Even though we're kind of still in it, it's like we're getting out of it, but my god, people were just watching whatever because we were all at home, and it was fun to sit at home and review wrestling. Like, it's going to be fun to sit and review wrestling for many years to come. But considering that I was more of a WCW fan at this point, even though WWE was starting to do some good stuff, trying to get out of the cartoonish nature, WCW had the hot hand. They had the NWO. They had Piper. They had Randy Savage was off television for a bit at this point, but they were really just, cooking. Like, they were like just absolutely printing money at this point. Even though they had such huge contracts, they had no choice but to print money to stay afloat. But the dark match was La Parka versus Viano 4. And then it was Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and Dusty Rhodes on commentary. They talk about Piper and Hogan, and also the 3 ring 60-man match that had each ring had their own commentary team, and more on that in a bit. So Rey Mysterio versus the Ultimo Dragon, who was the Ultimate Dragon at this point. It's still mind-blowing that nearly 3 years ago I got to meet Ultimo Dragon at an indie show in Seattle, and couldn't have been nicer. Still moved just as well as he did in the mid to late 90s. Guys, again, couldn't have been nicer. Him versus Matt Cross was a great match. Now, this is when Ultimo Dragon was going for every single goddamn cruiserweight, junior heavyweight, light heavyweight championship in existence. Seriously, he had so many goddamn belts, hence where that iconic picture of him with all the belts, like he had, a couple, 1 or 2 around his waist, and then he had all those. It's like anybody calling themselves a belt collector, haha, laughs in Ultimo Dragon. He was called the Ultimate Dragon at this point, but I'm calling him Ultimo Dragon because that's the better name. So yeah, Sonny Ono was with him. He was going to eventually capture the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, and I believe was going to battle Jushin Thunder Liger in Tokyo in early January of 97. So yeah, J Crown title match. What do you expect from this match? It was great. It was fucking great. 10,300 some odd people in the Norfolk scope got to witness. Pretty damn good opener. Ray did get dominated for a bit. Commentary was just having a whole lot of fun here. Dusty was never the best commentator, but he was more entertaining here. Heenan and Schiavone, they were just great at needling each other. Even when Heenan didn't give a shit and was just phoning it in, he was really, really good. Dragon dominating after a while. I did kind of like when they were outside and they're watching the monitor and everything and facing towards ring 2, because they would battle. These matches would be in subsequent rings, so not every single ring would just get beaten down. Even though these rings are strong, you space out all the bumps. So they were in ring 3, so you had the ring here, and then you had a ring here. And it was really odd because you had seating arrangements. Like, you would have just some parts of the seating arrangements that would be jutted all the way out. And I think the Norfolk scope actually I think there was like 12,000 or 13,000 people that could fit in there. But because of the extra rings, they wanted to give more space. They had to cut down the capacity. So at one point when Ultimo and Ray were out there, Dusty says, "Turn around, Braden, they're right behind you, brother." And I don't know why that made me laugh. But Ray does come back, hits a nice dive outside. Had, as Heenan pointed out, had he been half an inch off, he probably would have, freaking brained himself. There were some great near falls. It looked like Rey might get the victory, might get the J crown, but nope. Eventually, powerbomb off the ropes. 1, 2, 3. And Ultimo Dragon retains the championship and will go on to beat Dean Malenko, as I said, for the Cruiserweight Championship sometime after this. I'm trying to remember the exact timeline. Some of it's a little bit muddy. I know they had a great match on a Clash, one of the last Clashes. It was in January 97. Mean Gene talks to DDP about the main event and his association with Eric Bischoff because they were neighbors at the time. I believe Bischoff was either his next door neighbor, as they said, or at least really, really close. And he's like, oh, I don't care what Bischoff's doing. He's doing his own thing. I'm going to win because I already won the Battle Bowl earlier this year. I'm going to become the World War III king. Okay, as you do. And DDP would eventually, become pretty much one of the hot, besides Sting, probably the hottest babyface that they had in 97. That feud with Randy Savage would definitely do it. So Chris Jericho with Teddy Long took on Nick Patrick, who's in a neck brace. This was all based around Nick Patrick being... having dubious methods and being a bit, one-sided towards the NWO, as we should say. Basically, he was the NWO referee. He wouldn't be the referee for that long. He would eventually get out of that, and, there were questions about what he would do at Starrcade 1997. He wouldn't do the fast count, that's for fucking sure. Still not gonna fucking forgive that. But Jericho had one arm tied behind his back. Nick Patrick is a former wrestler, but he had a bad knee injury that knocked him out of that and would eventually become a referee, and unfortunately would have back injuries that would lead to him not being a referee that often past 2010. And so hopefully he's doing well. I think he's made a few indie appearances, but he's gotten out of wrestling since, apparently. And you know what? Gave a lot of years of wrestling, so good on him. The match was what it was. Nick Patrick gained an advantage and targeted the arm, but Jericho eventually won with a super kick, 1, 2, 3. There wasn't much to this match. Mean Gene then interviews Ric Flair, who's in a sling. I believe he had his rotator cuff or some kind of shoulder surgery. I'm not totally sure, but it was one of the only times I can remember Ric Flair being injured. Talks about the NWO, WCW tradition, all that. Woo! Jeff Jarrett takes on the Giant. Return grudge match at Halloween Havoc that I did retro review. You can check that out if you'd like. A lot of retro reviews on that old school wrestling reviews and documentary reviews playlist. Jarrett got a lot of pyro. He got a lot of pyro here. Now, at Halloween Havoc, as I said, the Giant was going to chokeslam him. Jarrett said he wouldn't be chokeslammed. Jarrett was not chokeslammed by the Giant. He was chokeslammed here. And I don't think that's really shocking. The shocking thing was Sting was walking around on the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk. It's Sting walking around on the catwalk. And eventually what he did is he came down through the people that distracted everybody. Nobody really cared that much about this match anyway, and Sting's distraction did not help. But he came down and hit the Scorpion Death Drop on Jeff Jarrett. Oh my God, he's on the side of the NWO, that is. But he would test a lot of the loyalty of the various people that had questioned what he brought to the table heading into Fall Brawl 1996. And then eventually it would change to, at Uncensored 97, right after Team NWO beat Team WCW and Team Piper. They're all celebrating, and I'm just going to reflect on it really. If I didn't retro review it, I will retro review it next March, or this coming March. But Sting comes down, crowd pops, the instant Hall gets in, he hits him with the bat, the crowd goes nuts. Finally a hero, we need a hero. We're waiting for a hero who's boarding tonight. He's got to be strong, he's got to be Sting, and he's got to be larger than life. We need a hero. Man, I like to ruin songs, don't I? So, yes, eventually, the Giant hits chokeslam 1, 2, 3. That's about it. Then we move on to, Piper coming out to a pop. Then Bischoff, Ted DiBiase, and Vincent are here. And Bischoff has the power of attorney because Hulk Hogan is looking at movie contracts and is actually not there. Okay, so Bischoff's got the power of attorney. Or maybe Hogan's backstage and it's not going to come out. Piper says to Vincent, I taught you how to fight, so get the hell out of my way. Good callback to that. That was good. Bischoff then speaks for Hogan. Piper cuts him down. This went on forever. Seemingly forever. They were trying... Oh, good God. Some idiot threw trash in the ring and hit Piper. Hope that person got their goddamn hand cut off. And here's Hogan and more NWO members. Elizabeth and so many others. So many goddamn members. And he tries to cut down Piper. This was 15 minutes of a pay-per-view broadcast where I understand they're trying to hype for Starrcade 1996. Battle of the Icons. Retro reviewed that last year. That was a lot of fun to talk about. But my fucking goodness, this was something they could have put on Nitro. And I get it. They're trying to have the big stars. They're trying to, tune into the pay-per-views. You never know who you're going to see. This could have easily been on Nitro. Nitro was 2 hours by that point. Nitro would become 3 hours by 97? I think 97? Maybe 98? Because 98, 99 I know is 3 hours. And it just got to where they were and it's like, show him the hip, Piper. And because he had a titanium hip by 94. He had a huge, actually I think both his hips were titanium, but he had a huge scar. And then eventually they beat him down and everything, and they hit, Hogan hits him with a chair, a safe chair shot to be fair, and hits him with a chop block, or at least tries to. Kind of just runs and then stumbles off. Because Hogan was never known really for doing great wrestling in the mid-90s, because even though he could do better stuff in Japan, and he was a heel over there, this didn't work. So, can Piper compete at Starrcade? Well, yeah, he can, and he actually beat Hogan by a sleeper hold. Without the title on the line, because how dare we give Piper the championship for just a couple months and then have him finally lose to Hogan. But anyway, yeah, this took on quite a bit. This took quite a bit of time. We have Harlem Heat, Stevie Ray, and Booker T with Sensational Sherry, or Sister Sherry as she was called here, versus the amazing French Canadians. Yes, the Quebecers. The Quebecers are here. Why? Why not? I've never quite gotten that, why they were there. Colonel Rob Parker, Viva la Quebec. And if Harlem Heat wins, Sherry gets 5 minutes along with Parker. Bobby Heenan mentioned, could you imagine what Sherry could do with Sherry could do with you in 5 minutes? Would like to have found out, in all honesty. I would, and you guys would have too. So, it wasn't bad, it was just typical. There was a ref bump. They get a table to balance the steps on there, so they can get another set of steps to step up on the steps and try to do their launch off the top. But they miss. Harlem Hangover, 1, 2, 3. And Sherry gets, 5 minutes alone with Parker. It takes her like maybe 90 seconds. Commentary was just absolutely loving it. Dusty was losing his goddamn mind during this. She clotheslined him! She clotheslined! I don't know why Dusty's commentary made me laugh. And they run off. Was there a conclusion? I don't think there was, but everybody just runs off, chasing each other to the back. Then we get a Starrcade ad with a meth elf, or somebody, I don't know what the fuck that was about. Mean Gene interviews Luger about Sting in the main event. And, my God, it's a good thing that Luger didn't cut that many promos. Dean Malenko took on Psychosis in a match that nobody cared about. I mean, viewers at home might have, but the crowd in the Norfolk scope sure didn't. Cruiserweight Championship match, and look, I get it, by this point, this might have been a major mistake. They probably would have been better off putting this on right after Jarrett and the Giant. Maybe. And then put the Hogan Piper thing on. But they were probably worried about Hogan and Piper going long like they did at Halloween Havoc 96, where they had to cut the pay-per-view off because Piper and Hogan wouldn't shut up. But they would have been better off slotting this match a little bit earlier. Even though we got a terrific Cruiserweight opener, we could have had another one, like, a match later, and it wouldn't have been a miss. It was good stuff. Psychosis nearly crashing and burning outside, and then we get tombstone reversals. We get a nice bridge pin from Malenko, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there you go. That's your lot right there. Dean Malenko retained the Cruiserweight Championship. The Outsiders of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall taking on the Faces of Fear. Barbarian and Ming. Shit, Ming's here. Run. Run to the ends of the earth, and then run further than that, because Ming is here. In all seriousness, I've heard Ming is tremendously positive and great towards fans. Scary son of a bitch. I would not want to get within 50 yards of him, because he's just that goddamn tough. And they took on the Nasty Boys. So it's a three-way match. It's a triangle match with 6 men, all human centipede together. Jimmy Hart with his megaphone, because he's in the corner of the Faces of Fear, because the Dungeon of Doom for some reason was still a thing in late 96. I don't understand why. I'm all for people getting goddamn paychecks, but fucking hell, the Dungeon of Doom was shit. The Nasty Boys rushed the Outsiders before the bell. This was a brawl with occasional tag matches, or occasional tag rules rather, enforced. It's really about it. Sometimes they would remember, oh yeah, we're having a tag match, let's do this. And then, oh yeah, let's just all get in here. Don't gift that, please. Oh, ooh, ow. That was a major mistake. But Ming was here, and just to basically just remind everybody, oh yeah, Ming's legit tough even when he's going half speed. The Outsiders at one point had to fight each other, and then they glom the other guys and everything, and we just get this where they try to glom the other guys, and then the other guys jump down. So Nash lays down because if Hall covers Nash or Nash covers Hall, they retain the tag team championship. So yep, did not think that one through. And it gets broken up, and um, Ming, Barbarian, everybody are just in there. We get the megaphone taken, and Knobs gets hit with it, and a jackknife 1, 2, 3. This is not the most famous thing with the Outsiders and the Nasty Boys. That was somewhere later where Sags would get busted open or get beat up by Hall when he accidentally threw a chair. Not even meaning to hurt him, but he was just like, I'm going to throw a chair at him. Oh, that didn't work. So anyway, commentary talks about the main event. And then Lee Marshall and Larry Zbyszko are one commentary team. Dusty and Tenay are another tag team. And Heenan and Shivani are the other team. So that's 3 commentary teams, 1 on each ring, calling this. All the guys make their entrances. Yes, even Pez Whatley was there. I did not know Pez Whatley was still wrestling in 1996, but whatever. They brought him in for an appearance. And Roadblock, End of the Line, was in this, and also Ron Reese Studd, and various other people that had already wrestled on this show. This was a mess. It was lots of people who'd already wrestled previously. The Dungeon of Doom and the Horsemen, who'd been having this goddamn feud, especially Sullivan and Benoit. Not the last time a Sullivan and Benoit would be in a fracas that would cause, bodily harm and everything, like June, 23rd and 24th of 2007. No, I'm not going to forget that. And Chris Benoit deserves to burn in hell for what he did. But they're just battling and everything. I don't think they got in the ring. They just battled up the stairs, down the stairs, or whatever, because it's fitting that Benoit would go down the stairs because he's down there in hell. And they eventually all get eliminated. Thanks for coming, guys, but still, that leaves 50 some odd people in 3 rings. All that, and they're cutting back and forth. They got a block here, a block here, a block here. And they're trying to do this stuff, and then, oh, Lee, how's this going? Lee Marshall just gets taken the fuck out. By the way, this is for a #1 contendership spot. The match isn't dull, it's just madness and ridiculous, and there's nothing wrong with trying to do things differently. Philosophically, I can't argue with them trying to, juice things up. But it was so messy, so fucking ridiculous. At one point, it's like we're focusing on this, we're like trying to look at these screens, and you gotta think about it, at the time that these pay-per-views were happening, watching on a flat screen TV like I got, that's a decent size. But some of these were on those big box TVs, which were pretty big, but also didn't have the best resolution. So you could be watching one screen. I can't really see that. Maybe I could watch. No, this is not really great. It was a good idea in theory, but didn't exactly play out all that great. Lee got knocked down and got beat up and everything, even though there were times where he's like looking up, wait, do I need to get back up? Nope, stay back down. Oh, okay. And Larry Zbyszko is just like pointing and laughing at him practically on a pay-per-view broadcast. Why did everybody hate Lee Marshall? Lee Marshall wasn't that bad of a commentator. Was he a bad person? I don't think he was. I hope not. I know he passed away a number of years ago. So, this was almost impossible to follow. It did get to where, the question was, would the NWO members team up and then refuse to win because they didn't want to face Hogan? Oh, no. We find out a little bit later what happened. I mean, not on this pay-per-view broadcast, but a little bit later, where it would be obvious that the winner would say, no, I'm going to leave the NWO. Spoiler alert, sorry, 25 years in. It was the Giant one. It did come down to the WCW and NWO members. And even though it got down to, I think 4-on-1, Luger tried to get Giant in the corner. When Giant did that spot, Giant, the future Big Show, now Paul White in AEW, did that spot where he got in the corner and he's like laying up there, I'm swimming. Actually, it wasn't, I don't know why. I don't know how anybody would be able to swim like that. As you can tell, I don't swim. And Luger gets him up in the racket almost, and then Six kicks him down. All the other kids with their pumped up Six. And at that point, he probably was pretty pumped up. He's clean now, good for him. So, Hall gets eliminated when he tries to do the outsider's edge to Luger. He gets tossed over the top. Six gets press slammed over there. And he gets Nash in the torture rack. And then Giant says, okay, pushing him over. And Nash therefore tore. Nash must have gotten hurt. He must have gotten hurt pretty goddamn badly because he was having difficulty getting up. But the Giant is the last man standing, and he wins the number one contendership spot. And would eventually, even though he tried to help Hogan beat Piper at Starrcade the following month, would leave with Piper and would turn face again. One of the many turns that the Giant had, and that's just the Giant. That's not including Big Show. And God, I can't wait for Paul White to turn heel for no goddamn reason. But anyway, that's the end. The Giant won, and they had a couple minutes left, and they said, "Okay, we gotta go, guys. Goodbye." By the way, a lot of pyro for the Giant. They had a fucking big pyro budget. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.